Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live, your favorite automotive show where we tackle all the issues related to the dealership world. Whether it's variable ops, fixed ops, doesn't really matter because the better the experience we create for our customers, the better reputation our dealerships have. And it's always been about the customer experience, and by sharing and bringing on the experts every week that share with the audience what they do to make our business better, we all get better. As my buddy Paul Machine says, a rising tide lifts all boats, and that's what we try to do here. And one of the biggest complaints that we've been hearing for quite some time, oh, we can't find techs. Oh, we can't keep techs. It's a big problem, but it doesn't have to be. I formed a strategic alliance with TechForce Foundation and Mike Pressendo here. We are going to bring regular content to the audience that's going to help you to formulate a strategy to recruit, educate, and maintain the quality technicians you need for your shop. So, and I want a special thank you to Ed Chipolowski. Ed is one of my connections. He's been a huge supporter of the show and what we do, and he's connected me with TechForce and some of these folks that have been bringing on that help make your world better. So, Mike, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks so much for having me.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are, your background, and how you got to this point, and then we'll jump right in.
You don't need to know about me, but I'll tell you about the organization. Other than, I'm still driving the 64.5 Mustang I bought in high school, so that's a while. So that I'm a amateur wrencher, but not somebody who's made a living in a shop. But I think that what we're here to talk about is TechForce Foundation. We've been around for it's about 17 years. We're the largest provider of scholarships to people pursuing careers as transportation techs. More than just transportation, we get into all sorts of stuff, but largely, automotive, aviation, marine, motorcycle, heavy equipment, all those things. And we recognize that the number one pain point we've heard from dealers is we can't find techs, can't keep techs. So what we're doing, we've always been in the scholarship business and helping them financially once they choose that pathway. But a few years ago, we said, we got to encourage more people to choose the pathway. And then we can help them with the scholarships, and we can help them with jobs, and we can help them with resources. But we got to get more people encouraged and engaged to go in that direction. So that's the other half of what TechForce is about. But for folks who haven't heard about us, I believe we are the largest grantor of scholarships in the category, from over $1.5 million a year. For example, all Ford scholarships for technicians come through the TechForce Foundation, but we work with GM and Nissan and Daimler and lots of other companies, and we work with literally hundreds of schools around the country. But the biggest way, when you think about Gen Z, what's always in their hand? Their phone. How do they interact with the world? A lot of stuff is through technology. And how many Gen Zs are on LinkedIn? Not many. How many Gen Zs are on Facebook? Not many. So we actually created a social network just for them. And one of the things that made us happiest when we started hearing feedback from the field once this was launched is finally a place for people like me. So it's a community that has all aspects of ways to support them, to encourage them in that journey, to interest them in the career path, keep them interested, provide training, education in there, not stuff they'll get credentialed for, help them with internships, jobs. But the inverse of all the stuff we're doing for those working and or future technicians is how we also support the industry, because the industry funds this, the industry provides these resources, and if and when you want me to, I'd be happy to kind of give the audience a little bit of a tour, because the pictures are worth more than me flapping my gums.
Just before we bring that up, I just want to jump in on this. This is crucial information that needs to be in every dealer's hands, because look at it this way. On the retail side, whether it's selling cars or selling service, how do we reach our customers? We reach them on social media, right? That's where people live. But yet Gen Zs, which it's a large part of the market. They're not in those spaces. So how do you as a dealership reach them? It's almost impossible. And you don't have the time or the resources to do a lot of the things that have already been established. That's why I'm so excited about my alliance with TechForce, because they've done all this. They've built this out. And when you see this, you're going to be as excited as I am, because I'm going to bring it on now. I can't even do it justice. Let me get to a couple of comments before we do that. Ed Chipolowski, good evening, everyone. Hey, Ed. And Taki Durakos, hi, Ed. Looking forward to listening. And Ed Chipolowski says, Taki Durakos, awesome. And so am I, my friend. Michael Dean Offmuth, hello, guys. And Mike Fisher, great to be here and see the connection. I support both Dealer Vendor Match and TechForce and support their causes. Perfect match. Thank you. Ty Thompson, Cars on the Move. Hi, Paul and Russell B. Hill. Good evening, everyone. And Taki says, and every fleet hands. Mike Vogel, the coach, all the way from the West Coast. Wish I could have heard of TechForce Foundation while I was working at dealerships. Paul, we need to get him in Fixed Ops Magazine and Automotive News, Fixed Ops Journal, Ron Overs, Dan Shine. Well, we are going to bring the message to the airwaves in a major, major way. Gene Holder, hey, Paul, check out Talo.com. I will definitely do so, my friend. All right, let's bring this up and check it out. This is really cool stuff.
Let me know when it's on screen, Paul.
We're on screen, ready to go.
All right, and great to hear and see some of our friends out there in the airwaves as well. So what I was talking about, so that the way to we wanted to engage Gen Z digitally. So if you go to techforce.org, that's our website. In the top right corner, you can either log in or create a profile. The site that's up on the screen is free to the public, but it's underwritten by industry. So the only company, and there's no advertising in it either. We are not for profit. We're not in the business to sell products and services, but we are in the business to help get people to and through careers working for people like you. And to do that, we figured we got to create a community that they enjoy. Gamification. So you can see on my screen, this is once you create a profile. So I encourage all of you guys to do it. And some of you online, I can already see are already in there, but we need to have a date of birth because we don't want anybody under 13 in there. We need to have a cell phone number because we have to shoot you a validation code and make sure you're not a robot, but there's no charge. We don't sell your information. We don't market to you through this stuff. And when we were creating this, our partners said, don't make it an advertising platform. So you won't see ads in here, but you will see things like daily trivia. I'm on the right-hand side of the screen, brought to you by, in this case, Cengage, which is a curriculum development company. So there's all the content in here is mostly donated by industry. So that's one of the ways that the industry puts their brand in front of the users. We've got over 12,000 people who've signed up to be in here. There's competitions, there's games, scholarships, careers, tons of stuff. But I'll give you a quick tour. These little green snipes on things indicate all these things are worth points. So people compete for points and prizes. So every day there's new trivia in here. At least once a week, there's a poll going on. You can invite friends. There's new challenges. Looks like we've got one from WD-40 in there right now. But if you create a profile, this is where you'd log in and you'd see this every day. And some of the current happenings will be sliding by on this top screen. We've got that first one is we've got taking students to a race. We've got stuff like training opportunities, women promoting that women. That's another, geez. Women are 52% of the population, but less than 3% of employed techs are women.
It's incredible.
This community, we can see on the back end data that between 30 and 40% of the active people in here who are in here really playing the games and competing and stuff are women, which is unheard of. And for your listeners, they may or may not have seen the data, but there was a Gallup study that showed that shops that employ women had, I think it was 41% more revenue, productivity's higher, reputation's higher. So women are one of the secret weapons for how we can help solve this tech shortage, particularly when there's so few of them employed in this profession.
I want to jump in on that for just a second.
Sure.
As guys, and I've spent plenty of years wrenching myself. As guys, I hate to say it, but if there are 10 steps to something, we're always looking to see if we could do it in 3, right? We may take some shortcuts. And those shortcuts might work sometimes, but other times not. Whereas women think a little bit differently when it comes to this kind of stuff. They're trained in the sequence and steps, and they generally follow them. So I think you've had less, from a mental standpoint, less of the shortcut gamification. And guess what? Probably less comebacks to go with that.
Absolutely. And to that point, we every Wednesday on our social media, if you follow us on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, TikTok, any of those, we promote a different woman technician because we think it's really important for women to see themselves succeeding in this career path. Because we interviewed 52 women over the past year, it gave us insights. We saw common themes. So one of the resources we rolled out for industry, and I think somebody mentioned, hey, get them on Automotive News. They actually featured us on there talking about this. We came out with what's called a white paper, but it's actually for dealerships and shops about how to attract, retain, and advance women as technicians, because there's plenty of shops out there that have never had a woman working in the bays, and others who may have done it wrong and learned the hard way, and others are doing it right. So we provide that resource free to the community. It's available on our website for download. But that's just an example of some of the resources we provide to the industry. But I'll go back to this quick tour to give your audience a sense of what all is here. So as I mentioned, all of our scholarships come through here. So I think 6,000 students applied for scholarships last year. So they all come through here. But we don't hog it. You know, if there's other scholarships out there that we're aware of that we're not managing, we feature them in here as well. Our career hub, as you can imagine, this wasn't a cheap platform to build, even though we got a lot of it donated, but our partners funded it. So if a company is on board supporting our mission, we believe you got to have skin in the game. Then they can post jobs in here. But some of your listeners might be a single rooftop dealership or something, and they don't have the resources that a Ford or GM have at the corporate level. We've set it up for them to come on board as supporters of the TechForce mission at much more reasonable levels. All the information's on the website, but this is not intended to just be for the big corporations. But we know that finding technicians is a key thing. But conversely, as I said, we've got, I think there are 13,000 people in here right now. They're randomized on this screen, so we don't have somebody coming in here and scraping them, but recruiters can't come in here and just directly connect with them. If you have a profile in here, you set the controls on who you want to be contacted by or what you're interested in. If any of these people on the screen decide to apply for a job, then that can open the doorways to have the two-way conversations, but it's not a place where recruiters can come in and poach and just directly start scraping and finding people in here. But it's neat. You can look for people by name. I'm on the right-hand side of the screen, by school, by work, where they work, city, state, even their tech level. So there's lots of different ways to find people. And once you're in there, you can follow people and connect with people directly as an individual. Schools. We have over 300 schools in the country in here, and that's one of the key ways. How does a dealership get connected with that future source of employees? Those, whether it's the local high school tech program or a post-secondary one, we have the relationships because we are working with the post-secondary schools in terms of providing scholarships, and with the high schools, we might be sending their instructors to training. We've heard from a lot of high schools that they love the training that's in this network, which I'll show you in a couple minutes. But there's lots of ways to connect with, but we've heard it both from the dealerships and from the schools. We don't have time to take all the calls from the dealerships and schools. Exactly. From the school perspective and the dealerships, I don't know who to talk to at the school and stuff. We've got it all worked out in here. So we know who they are. We can connect you with them. There's ways to post internships and apprenticeships and all that kind of stuff in here.
Now, if I can jump in here for 1 second, I want to get to a couple of comments, and then I want to just add something. Comments. Kenny D from Sugarland, Texas. Savor the flavor of the awesomeness in you peeps from Sugarland, Texas, just southwest of Houston. Be seeing you in January. I'm going to go to NADA, Kenny. Michael Barrich. Hashtag raise the bar. Winning is important. It may not be everything, but it's certainly ahead of whatever's in second place. And Mike Fisher says TechForce is incredible. The techs they are supporting will provide the skills dealerships need for years. Thomas Pena, good evening. And Earl Sticks Brown, looking forward to sharing TechForce with dealers in Northern California. Great resource. And Mike Vogel says, do you have anything with the Toyota T10 program / schools? Do you, Mike?
We have in the past, Toyota has been a partner of ours, and we've interacted with the T10 program. I think they've taken a break, in terms of their funding priorities, but we've absolutely familiar with T10 and those. It's likely that those schools are in our network, but we don't have a formal Toyota relationship right now, but we have.
Russell B. Hill, what a great resource. Now, I put an article out recently about what stores can do. I think I put like 7 tips in there, what you can do at the store to improve your situation as far as the tech shortage is concerned. But I urge all of you out there, and look, if you work at a dealership or you have friends that work at a dealership, this is a valuable resource. Share this video with your network because everybody will benefit from this, right? You can't do it all. And here's a company that's done it all. Thousands of people and all kinds of resources that you can utilize to improve your business today, tomorrow, and set long-term plans. This is great stuff, Mike.
Thank you. And what I'm scrolling by on the screen is each one of these companies these are our corporate partners and our association partners. We're kind of Switzerland. We just want to help these people get into the career and be successful. So we work with Ford and GM. We work with WD-40 and CRC. We work with Advance and AutoZone. We work with tons of other fellow associations. So we're just trying to bring it all together so that if a person's interested or already on this journey, they can find the resources and the pathway. And then on the flip side, for employers and industry to be providing those resources and pathways. So that's it goes both ways. I think I clicked through the schools. I kind of showed you on industry, but as these companies have profiles in here, they can post information about their companies, the schools they're connected with, videos, all that kind of stuff. But one of the
video stuff is great because it gives them training, technical training and various different areas.
Yeah, I'll click down there. I'll come back to the leaderboard, but the training.
Oh, I got ahead of this. Sorry,
as I kind of said before, nobody's going to get an ASE certification from these trainings, but they are training donated by industry, and a lot of the training is stuff you'd have to pay for on the market. But the industry knows that the vast majority of the people who are going to be in here are people who they're either working in the field, they want to work in the field, or they're a hobbyist enthusiast, but they're relevant consumers of this content, and they're happy to donate it. So Advance Auto Parts donates a lot. Cengage is curricula. WD-40's provided training. Ford's provided training. There's all sorts of training stuff in here. But as you can see, these little bugs on them with the number on it, they're worth varying points. And you take the training and you earn the points. Now, we're not testing people on did they get it all right, but there's enough of an assessment at the end to validate that they just didn't run it in the background and earn their points. And we're also not trying to be a learning management system. It has the ability to plug into third-party management systems, but we don't track their training. We only track their points. Someday we might.
Now, if I can jump in here.
Sure.
Here's the valuable part of this, okay? This can certainly enhance one's technical expertise. As Mike said, they're not going to earn a certification from this, but let's face it, a lot of these techs take certification programs. And with supplemental learning like this, it's only going to help them to become better technicians. As a person that hasn't worked on a car in quite some time myself, I watch videos to learn how to fix things. On one of my Lexus cars, the navigation system went. Now, I taught myself years prior how to build and fix computers on my own by watching videos and looking at different training things because I wanted to know how to do it. I never got certified in it, but guess what? I can fix that stuff, right? When my nav system had an error code on the dashboard, I went on YouTube and I looked up some information. And from what I learned about computers, there's basically a DVD drive, a processor, and a screen. So based on the error code, I figured it was probably the DVD drive that wasn't reading the disc properly. So I looked up some information on YouTube. I educated myself. I found a company that rebuilt DVD drives right through YouTube. It cost me less than $300. Initially, I went to the dealer. I said, the nav system doesn't work. How much to fix it? They said $3,000. I dug further. I found a used one for $2,000. I ended up fixing it myself by watching YouTube videos. It cost me about $300 with shipping all in. So the techs that take advantage of these valuable resources become better technicians. They know more about the craft that they're part of. And as they do their other certification classes, all of this comes into play because it's all stuff that goes in their head that makes them better technicians.
Absolutely. So, I've been scrolling by for the audience, so you can see there's just a ton of stuff in here. And you know what? Your techs, if they're working in your shop, they probably know this stuff, but there's always opportunities to tune up on things. But I was talking to a student who was in a post-secondary training program, and she actually said she was going after the points in here because she was trying to compete on the leaderboard, and she actually won. But in doing so, she took every single training that was in here, and she said it gave her such an advantage over her peers in school because she had this. Maybe there were things that were going to teach her later on, but there was so much that she had not learn. But by going through here and taking these, and they're short. They're intended to be short. They're short attention spans. It's enough to get concepts across. But yeah, the training stuff's exceptionally popular with folks starting out their careers or in school. The events. I'll click over to the events. So we have hundreds of events in here. Anybody can submit an event. If you're in the network, you can submit an event. It just goes into a preview queue, so we don't put something in here that's inappropriate. But another great way to engage with technicians, whether it's a student or a prospective, is we have industry donating tickets to events. And when you donate tickets to events, you've got these we filter out who gets to come because it's a qualified audience who's applying. They have to be in the network to apply. But
Yeah.
I'll click on this one right here. So this is for students, but it's Formula Drift up in Seattle. We've got a number of tickets available for the event. They come in here, sign up just like they would on an Eventbrite. They earn points for doing that, but then if they post photos from the event, they get even more. But that's just an example. Some of our events can be hosted where they're actually getting a VIP experience. I took 25 tech students to the Grand Prix in Long Beach with Jimmy Johnson, and they got to hang out with his crew in the pit, which for them it was like meeting the Super Bowl quarterback. It's their superheroes, and to be able to have that kind of experience for free, just donated by the industry, but the industry doesn't necessarily know how to connect with this audience. That's part of what we're doing. And then we also take the hassle out of how do you figure out how to get them the tickets and all that kind of stuff. So, if anybody in the audience has opportunities to donate tickets for events like this, let us know. We can post them in here. It could be as simple as just sending them the will call to pick them up, or on the really high end packages, then we can actually work out the experience. But that could even be a tour of a dealer's shop. Maybe it's an open house. We've done that with several dealerships. So there's lots of different things in here, and there are a lot of automotive in here because that's what people are loading. But we are marine, we are motorcycle, we are aviation. It's if it moves, we're supporting it. And quite frankly, even some of the like power generation, the wind turbines and stuff like that. The most obscure person that we actually featured on that every Wednesday I was talking about, featuring women who are techs. She's actually a tech on a ski lift. It's got motors and gears and engines and stuff. So yeah, it fits, and she had a really cool
Wow.
story to tell. Our
Like, this
challenges,
is life-changing stuff, man.
yeah.
Could you imagine a young technician having access to and winning and taking advantage of some of these opportunities?
And here I just pulled up the leaderboard because it's all about the points. It's about the competition. We have a school in North Carolina, NASCAR Tech. Well, they're racers, so I guess they were racing each other. They racked up 1,000,000 points in here as a
Wow.
school. So you can, when you create your profile, I'll pop back here. You can actually, I'm here on the right-hand side. You can actually select a school. It could be your alma mater. Or you could be there now. You can also select your employer. to play for. Now I have 0 points because we program the system not to let employees get points. And so it's not that you would lose your points to that, but if I racked up 500 points and TechForce would also get 500 points and my school would get 500 points. So that's how these schools rack them up. But we don't want to put newcomers to a disadvantage. So we have seasons. So we reset the points clock. That's the difference up here at the top of the screen, season versus lifetime. But as you can see, there's a spectrum of participants. This is wide open. So this is the current season, not sorted by school or state or role or anything. So this is a comment. So you can see you've got working techs, you've got students, you've got a enthusiast hobbyist who's number one. And I will tell you that Steve, he was competing for the top points on another contest, and the student was number two. And Stephen graciously said, you know what? This is about young people and students. Let that student win, and I'll match the gift. I think it was a Harbor Freight gift card for 150, so he threw in another 150. So thanks to Steve if he's out there listening. But if not, it just gives you an example of the kind of camaraderie and stuff that's in here. But if you look at lifetime points, Steve's got 700-some-thousand here, but I can look by role. So maybe I just want to see students. So boom, look at that. The top two student points earners are women. So you can see that, as I said earlier, it's an attractive environment. Maybe I just want to look at working technicians and see how we're doing there. So there's a tech at this dealership right here. So sometimes they tell us where they work, sometimes they don't, but that's up to people and what they want to put in their profiles. And so we run contests and campaigns, and our partners donate prizes, gift cards, packages. Someday we'll actually have a system where they can redeem against our inventory of donated prizes. The challenges is something pretty neat too. As I mentioned, there's trivia in here every day. It looks like there's some special trivia in here right now. But when you play, it can be by beginner or advanced. It's the same point. It's the same questions, but the speed at which it goes by. So if you're advanced, if you're a working tech, we expect you know these answers. But if you're a beginner, maybe not. But you can earn more points if you go on the advanced route. And in this case, this trivia is brought to you by Cengage. But if we were to go in there, you'd see, and these aren't puff questions, and that's we've heard particularly schools saying they really appreciate. They pull it up and they do this every day, and they learn stuff all the time. Any of these conditions could cause excessive noise during air conditioning, compressor operation, except crack compressor mounting, excessive internal clearances, loose compressor mounting bolts, faulty compressor pulley bearing. I don't know, maybe wrong. So. But then it also explains so they learn. And so I won't make you go through all of these, but or I'll just randomly click on stuff to do it wrong to get through it quickly. But you can see you rack up the points, and they go on your leaderboard, and so you get your points, and it goes on your leaderboard. The training stuff, I think I've already addressed. The garage. This is where we put all sorts of videos, articles, podcasts, blogs. And you're like, well, geez, that's a ton of stuff in there. How do you sort it? All this stuff, everything's tagged. So you can see these tags on here. So this is tagged recreational, power sports, motorcycle, but you can sort on the right-hand side. So let's say I'm a woman contemplating this career path, and I'm interested in stuff by or for or about women. Boom, I just click the women, and now I've got articles for or about women. So you
can find the stuff that's relevant to you, that you're interested in, which makes it more personal, makes you want to engage more.
So just a chock full of all sorts of stuff. But as I said, we know we had to make it engaging for that Gen Z audience, and they had to have a reason to keep coming back. And so whether they're in school, considering this pathway, near graduation and looking for work, as I mentioned, the Career Hub thing, and it's got a really cool feature that you won't get from something like LinkedIn or something. I hope our listeners will go and create their own profiles, but when you do, you can fill out greater detail that will allow you to match with jobs. And so when an employer posts a job in here, they can put things in like, is it flat rate or salary? Is it a big shop? Is it a small shop? Is it a corporate, or is it mom and pop? Is it same type of stuff every day for this job, or is it different stuff every day? Is it near the beach, near the mountains, all those kind of dimensions. So it's more like match.com in addition to what certifications do you have, where'd you go to school, how many years experience, but it takes it to the next level. And so if a person populates that on their profile, and the employer who posts the job does that as well, then it allows them to match on that criteria as well. Another thing for young people, well, techs in general, who likes doing a resume, but we heard overwhelmingly from the educators, these students don't know how to, don't like to. So literally, I'm here on the Career Hub up on the right, but they can literally click here, and if they've populated their profile, then it allows a digital resume, and that's one of the other cool things too in today's digital age. I've clicked over to my profile now, but it allows you to post what schools, what competitions, what certifications, what clubs, what work experience, education, and training. But one of the things we find is really cool is students post their projects. They can post photos and videos and all sorts of stuff in here on their profile, so they can show off a little bit more than and most tech students have got something they're working on, whether it's a beater car or something they race or what have you. So it really allows them to showcase their talents and their passions a little more than you would in a flat traditional resume.
So here you have a platform where if I'm a technician, I can learn, I have job opportunities, I have networking opportunities, I have places where I can share what I like, what I do as it relates to my field. I mean, it's incredible. I'm going to get to a couple of comments before we get too far. My buddy Joe Chambers from SNL. Make sure to connect with Joe Chambers. Do a Sunday morning show, 7 a.m. Central Time every Sunday. Probably about 31 people in fixed ops and some other parts of automotive get together. And we talk about real world situations that happen and how different people overcome them. A lot of times we'll look at a situation and we'll say, oh man, that is an insurmountable task. How am I going to fix that? Yet someone else will look at that same issue and say, oh, that's no problem. Here's how we do it. And that's the kind of stuff we talk about every Sunday. So make sure you reach out to Joe or Eric. I can never pronounce his last name. One day, but today's not that day. Ed Chipolowski, Mike, please explain how FedEx Freight will ship donations to school. That's an important one.
Great point. Schools need resources. We were talking to a shop just the other day that was changing out their equipment, and they don't. And here's a great example. CarMax was switching out their spray guns. They had a bunch of new ones, but they were switching to a new brand, new deal, and so they got with us and asked us to help get them out to schools that could use them. And then through our partner FedEx Freight, they donate the shipping. So it could be a diesel engine, it could be spray guns. It can't be little tiny. We've got a socket set from Snap-on. It has to be of substantial value to call in the help from FedEx Freight and stuff. But what is no longer useful for a shop or a business can be phenomenal learning aids and tools for the schools. That's one of the things, pre-COVID, when we had a little bit more money to spend, we actually did shop makeovers for high school shops.
Wow.
We come in and bring experts in, and it's just there. I think we've got a video on the website. You can watch the one we did. We came in and literally it looked like it was out of the 70s. And by the time we were done, they had all the high-tech equipment they needed, and the place looked like a place where you'd want to be. You have to have pride in your work environment, so whether it's where you're studying it or where you're actually, earning your living, it's got to be a place that looks good, feels good. You want to be there. And we left them in that kind of positive state, and the program attracted a lot more students, so a lot more graduates, a lot more potential techs. So it goes full circle.
Wow. And this started 17 years ago.
Just doing scholarships. Yep, 17 years ago, only doing scholarships. And at the time when we started, we were just we came out of one of the largest private schools that does it, and so we were just doing scholarships for them. But then now we continue to work with them. They're still one of our great school partners, but now we're working with hundreds of schools around the country on the scholarship stuff. And then these resources. I know one of the other things you'd asked about, Paul, were were resources for the industry. So in addition to all the stuff on here, on our website, we have resources for industry. What's it take to attract a Gen Z? How do you set up a career fair? How do you make your workplace a place where women techs would want to work and stay and succeed? We have all these kind of resources out on our website publicly, so you don't even have to have a profile to reach those. I will tell you, though, we're right in the process of changing over the website right now. So those resources are not quite up in the new site yet, but they will be soon. And that's just the techforce.org. I could even click and show you quickly what even that looks like, because when you go to techforce.org, this is the homepage. But as I mentioned up in the top, you can create a profile in the top right or log in. I've already logged in. But we have, in our resources section, and that's what I said, is under construction right now. We have all the resources. We're just in the process of uploading them. So you'll start seeing them populate this week. But, if you're interested, this is where you can find out ways you can donate. If you have equipment to donate, there's ways you can do it through here. If you've got in-kind materials or ad space, that kind of stuff, that's what you can do there. If you're interested in the kind of resources we have on the public website, it's our news releases. We have a monthly newsletter you can subscribe to. We've got these reports and white papers. The industry usually takes great interest when we come out with our annual supply and demand report. And we study the federal data, both education and jobs, and we have the projections for supply and demand. This is where you can access the white paper I just talked about that shows how women techs, methods that employers can use to attract, retain, and advance women. So there's just gobs of information here. It's all free, but it has been supported by the industry. That's how we've gotten this far. So if anybody out there wants to participate and help us, there's ways to do that as well. But this is just an example of some of the companies that support TechForce Foundation and allow us to be able to deliver on this mission.
I mean, talk about a phenomenal resource. Every dealership can benefit from this. I can't think of one that can't. I want to get a couple of comments. That's a great suggestion, Ed. Thank you. And Mike Fisher, Earl Sticks Brown. Sticks, great to see you here. Brenda and I have worked with the TechForce team for the last 2 years, and we see the value they offer for car dealerships and shops. Anything you can do to carry their card in Northern California would be huge. Mike Fisher says, Mike Vogel, not sure they do, but let's get them set up. And Mike Vogel says, Mike Fisher, I just tagged both gentlemen and asked. Ed Chipolowski, mentoring. Talk to me about mentoring.
Mentorships are huge. We have an ability to connect mentees and mentors through this network. Again, it's, as I said, the permissions get locked down. So they would have to self-identify and say, I'd be interested, but you can also sign up to be in a pool. We have a system set up for volunteers on our public website. If you're interested in doing that, there are ways to get involved and volunteer. There's a form you fill out, and we set you up in the system to be able to facilitate those internships. Let's see where that is in here. Yeah, there it is. So if you're interested, you just pop in here. This little video shows you how it works, but the application is a piece of cake. And then our volunteer coordinator contacts you and finds out what the opportunity is. And then I believe, like, if you had an internship you wanted to post with your dealership, once we have you identified and vetted, then I believe it would kind of manifest in the network, kind of like the jobs do. So there could be matching on geography or skill level and all that kind of stuff.
Wow. Blown away by this. Roger Gutierrez, hello everyone. Hey, thanks for coming on. And Steve DiMarzio, thanks Mike for the mention.
Hey, Steve.
And Mike Fisher says, excellent job, Mike P, explaining TechForce. Yeah, you.
Well, and big props to Mike and his whole team, Mike Fisher and his organization help. As I said, so many folks are helping with this mission. They could be charging us an arm and a leg, and they don't. They're very generous with their time and resources to help us get the word out. So thank you, Mike.
You know what? between now and when we go into this earth, we have to ask ourselves, how have we impacted our world when we're gone? What good have we done? And what you do for our industry and marine and aviation, I mean, that's huge. You hear the complaints every day. There is no other resource that I know of that is as comprehensive as this, that offers so much to promote our business. Wow.
Well, I'll tell you too, as I'm scrolling through, I see military, and I didn't even talk about that. You think about veterans coming out of the service, they've got the GI Bill. What help do they need? The government's going to pay for school. Big surprise, government isn't always prompt in those kind of things. So we've literally had veterans living in their cars, waiting for their GI Bill check to come through. So we help in more ways than just tuition. We find that students typically get derailed in their education for this kind of career path. It's typically an automotive. Their car breaks down, and it's probably a $450, $500 expense that they can't afford, so they drop out of school. So we just recently, Lyft has stepped up to help with transportation when their cars break down, but they have repair centers in 2 different markets in the country, and we're going to be able to send the students there to get those cars repaired, and they'll also get to meet the techs and the shop foremen and have that experience as well, because that's the career path they want to go to. So it's so ironic that the thing that derails their education and career path tends to be their car breaking down. And so, but again, so that we help the veterans with their relocation. We used to just do scholarships, but now it's cost of education, because some states will cover tuition, but tools are expensive, training resources, maybe childcare, transportation, housing, all these things are critical in getting these students successfully through their education journey, so we can queue them up to the dealerships and others to hire them. And so we're looking to support them any way we can. We've got some Universal Technical Institute does an employee drive where their employees, I think they call it Care to Share, and their employees contribute to a fund that goes to help the students with a food pantry, with these ride vouchers, all that type of stuff. So there's lots of different ways that employers and companies get involved in helping these students. And I think something that cannot be undervalued is like the example, this case study right here happened to be a veteran who got a scholarship from Sun State through us. And he was looking for work, and he went through the normal channels and didn't hear back, which is, that happened. Emails get lost or whatever. We stepped in, and this veteran got an interview like the next day with Sun State, and now he's happily working for him. He's a Navy veteran who Sun State helped. So that, that brand reputation you create when you help these students out, or they see you just helping out folks in the community and peers, and they talk about it. They say, hey, I got this scholarship from Penske or Ford or Sun State or what have you, or they helped me out. That you can bet darn sure they're going to consider them as an employer when they come out, because they help them out on their journey.
It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the automotive business has been very, very good to me. In my 43rd year in it, and I get up every morning excited like it's my first day. And what a wonderful opportunity to bring young people into our business and give them all of these tools and all of this help to have them flourish and grow.
Well, it's something we didn't touch on, Paul, if I may, that culture piece. The Gen Z are wired differently than their 40, 50-year-old peers, and some of the stuff they're looking for, and it's not just about the brand, the OE brand. Without naming OEs, we became aware of a student who was slaving away at an OE, kept on the lube rack for a couple of years, really getting frustrated. They'd invested in an education, and they had their loans and stuff. I think their employer, that dealer, was helping pay for that. But they were just having a hellish experience, and they were willing to just throw in the towel, just walk away from the career, because a woman, actually, and she was being treated unfairly as a woman on top of it. So she literally was ready to bag it, walk away, have to pay back that contract, have to pay that loan, just walk away, because her view and experience of the industry was formed by only working at that dealership that happened to be affiliated with an OE. Another dealer of that same OE across town heard about her, recruited her. It was the first female tech they ever had. She turned out to be a rock star. They promoted her rapidly. She's high production, great team member, raises the rest of the team, looked at as a resource and a collaborator. Same OE brand, different culture, different dealer. So it's not just the brand you're working for, but it's the people you're working for and the environment they create. And the gotta earn your dues. We've all come up through the ranks in different ways, and that's fair to a degree.
The
But
times have changed.
you got to give these young techs a clear pathway. If it's Lubrac for 6 months, then it's maybe Lubrac for 6 months, but 3 years, you're going to lose them. And granted, they have to prove some competency. I've certainly talked to some dealers who've had folks that were entry level, and maybe they even had the training and degrees, but they didn't have the skills. But they also found them, they put them in another part of the dealership where they could still be valued because they liked them. They just didn't have the technical aptitude, but they were still a keeper in a different way.
Right. Why try to force a round peg in a square hole?
Another one, on that same, pay your dues. We had somebody who talked about the internships. Somebody had set one of their students up with an internship with a local shop. I don't know that it was a dealership per se, but it was a shop for sure. And they popped in to check on that student, their internship, see how it was going. And student wasn't there. Asked the shop owner or foreman, hey, where's so-and-so? I got him at home mowing my lawn. Got to pay the dues. What a sure way to make sure that person doesn't come to work for you. And
we have so much trouble
from that
getting
school.
them.
It's just that there's some old stigmas and ways of doing things that if we want to succeed, we want to be profitable, you got to get good techs and you got to keep them. And part of that's creating the right environment. Is it, and talking about women, some shops never thought about it. They just had a locker room or a bathroom for the guys, and there might have been some calendars on the walls that showed a little more skin than they should have and stuff. And then you get a woman in the shop and she has to share that space. Uniforms, I never thought about this, but it makes total sense. And I've had plenty of women techs tell me the stereotypical shop uniform is not cut for a woman. They're shaped differently. They don't fit them. They're not comfortable. They don't work well. There's little things like this that shops hadn't thought through. Make sure you've got a place for the women. Make sure you got them uniforms that fit them. Make sure you treat them like techs, not the woman tech. They just want to be treated fair.
Right.
And to your point, Paul, the studies are showing that they make fewer mistakes. And my unofficial observation is that's probably because they're following the manuals and instructions where people like me just kind of try to jump a couple of steps and figure it out.
Times have changed, and we need to change with those times. I remember, back in the day, I had a new tech that started at the dealership. I was working at a Saab store, and I remember like it was yesterday, walking through the locker room, and I heard a noise from one of the lockers. And I go up to the locker, I open the door, and there was a tech in there. A new guy that had just been hired. They duct taped this guy around his mouth and his hands and stuffed him in the locker. You can't do that stuff. I let him out. I cut the thing and he left, quit the job. You can't do that kind of stuff. And here's a company that if you're a dealership, you need to get involved with TechForce, because here's a company that not only helps the people that you're trying to reach and keeps them educated, engaged, and offer them opportunities, but they do the same for you as a dealership. They help you with better understanding of what they need and what you need to do to improve your situation. Now, Steve DiMarzio has a comment there. He says, what about help with A&P certification?
So we're not in the certification business. So I don't have an answer for you yet.
Okay. Mike Fisher says, Mike Vogel, thanks, Mike. When TechForce contacted me, I saw their vision right away, matching young techs with employers, and more importantly, bringing more people into the technician career path. Huge, because it's like farming, right? You scout the land, you develop the land, and you grow the quality organic crops, and that's what they're doing here. At Chipolowski, students absolutely love wearing uniforms that have a company logo on it. They will wear it everywhere. Yeah, I've seen that. They wear it proudly. This is
I
amazing
won't show
stuff,
my
Mike.
bias, but I was wearing my favorite OE brand earlier today myself.
Incredible stuff. And this takes nothing. They go on the website. If you would be so kind to post in the after the show in the comment thread, link to these places here so that folks can go on, check it out,
Yeah, I
and
think the
join.
most important thing is just techforce.org. Techforce.org. Just type in TechForce, techforce.org. There's not a lot of tech forces out there. There are a few, like IT companies or stuff out there, but techforce.org will get you to our website. And if you're interested in going into the network I was showing you, just hit the screen button. It'll take you a minute or two. You need your name, email, phone number, date of birth, and are you a technician or a working professional or whatever? That's all you got to put in. You'll get a text that you have to validate, and we have noticed that some people don't notice the text or don't recognize it. So, and then you just type in the code and you're in.
Now, Steve has a comment. Okay, how about more training in aviation field? I'm looking at the screen and I see icons for automotive, marine, motorcycles and power sports, trucking, aviation, heavy equipment, and looks like train. These are all areas that TechForce is involved with.
Absolutely. But I will tell you, we kind of started out in the automotive space. So that's where we've got the most stuff.
Okay.
We don't have any formal aviation partners. We have a few partners that play in that space. Snap-on is a big provider of tools in aviation. So they have actually provided us some aviation imagery and resources. We're hoping to get on, aviation manufacturers and airlines and stuff. They employ tons of techs, and they don't just employ aviation techs. People have to run those fuel trucks and all the other things that are on the property as well. So, yeah, we are agnostic when it comes to the mode, but our resources, show our history and our funding. And so we do scholarships in all these areas, but we don't have companies earmarking money for all those areas. So we have to tap our general money that's not earmarked, but we get money earmarked for marine and for aviation. There's a couple of earmarked for aviation. Nobody gives us money for welding, but welding and CNC is such a key thing, so we do it. We do have some heavy equipment earmarked money. I don't think we have any marine earmarked money, so we have done some marine scholarships, but we tap our general fund for that. So yeah, the more we can get the support, then the more we can dole out scholarships in those categories. And same thing with the training modules. If anybody who's listening has resources from any of those industries that would like to come on board and help us out with those in our training section, we're happy to collaborate on those. And we do have some marine training stuff in here, and I think a little bit of aviation, but it's going to be overwhelmingly automotive because that's who's been donating it.
Now, I have one of my connections and friends, Orlando. He's in the aviation space, and he usually watches the show on the replay. So, Orlando, when you watch this, you are in aviation. So, if you have any contacts or connections that you can hook up with TechForce and to kind of expand the aviation side of things, that would be great, because the more people you help, the better off everybody is. And this is a not-for-profit, so there's no hidden agenda here. This is merely...
I think we probably dole out at least 4 aviation scholarships a month, if not more. But if we had more money, we could do more.
Right. There's no agenda. This is strictly to bring more people into the service field. I don't think there's enough attention paid to that.
And if anybody sees ads for TechForce out in any of their trade magazines or anything, our ads are donated. So, you might say, how come you're not advertising at Aviation Times? Well, we haven't been able to get them to donate any space yet. But we're supported by Motor Age and Babcock's, and there's lots of magazines, both online and print, that support us through donated ads. But we're also trying to reach outside of the industry. We're absolutely a resource for the industry, but we also are working on ways to get in front of those Gen Zs who haven't even chosen this pathway. If they've chosen to go to a tech school, then we can help them in lots of different ways. But we call it from pipeline to placement. We're really trying to fuel the front end of that pipeline, so they can, stay interested in high school and pursue that post-secondary training and certifications, and then become your employees, and then hopefully become mentors, and then hopefully be posting jobs in here and recruiting other folks and doing internships and all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to do the whole 360 on it.
You're painting a picture for them that they might otherwise not even see.
Absolutely. We actually have here's a cool way that your listeners can and viewers can participate. Toward the end of August, we do an annual campaign that's intended to reach outside the industry. We call it Because I'm a Tech, and we don't script it. We just ask technicians some questions, and they can be from anywhere. They come largely from our partners and our schools and people we know, but anybody can participate. And the kind of stuff we hear are, because I'm a tech, I bought my first house when I was 22. Because I'm a tech, I don't have to get chained. I'm not chained to a desk. Because I'm a tech, I get to tackle a new challenge every day, and I love it. I get to work with my hand, all that kind of stuff. And so we push those out on social media. We try to get them in front of people who are not already on this pathway, and we try to do it with younger, hipper looking people, because there's plenty of people like me with the gray hairs and stuff, but that doesn't resonate with a 16-year-old who's trying to decide what to do for a career. And so we try to skew as young and cool as we can with people that look like them. They might have some piercings, they might have some ink. We're not, but we do try to project clean, organized shops. And we really were working hard to help project the high-tech nature of the job. I don't have to tell your audience how freaking high-tech these jobs are now. And the cool thing is,
they're not mechanics.
They're digital.
They're not mechanics.
They're born with computers and phones in their hands. They know how to do this stuff that we'd have to go back to school to figure out how to do.
They are electromechanical engineers. And I want to add to that, because I'm a tech. Because I was a tech at the age of 24, I bought my first house. So it's a great field. Steve,
because I'm a tech, I don't have the debt that my 4-year college friends have. There's all sorts of stuff we hear, but we try to push it out every way we can. We get videos, we get photos, testimonials, but anybody who wants to send those in, we're all for it.
Steve DiMarzio says, can you talk more about TFF Mobile Truck?
So we have it's probably talking about the Mobile STEM Career Center. So Penske generously donated a 26-foot box truck, but they had rigged it for their anniversary celebration. So it's got awnings and a video wall and stuff. And then most of our partners donated activities and equipment that's hauled by the truck, but we deploy around the country, and it's designed to provide hands-on activities for largely young people to get them interested in this pathway. For example, we need underwriting to deploy it. We have all the stuff. We've got the truck. We've got the stuff on it. But for example, Shell asked us to deploy at the Barrett-Jackson auction at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. So they purchased a 2,000 square foot space for us, and we rolled in there with all these activities. I mean, it's racing each other, changing the tires on the front clip of a NASCAR with timers. It's writing code to power up, servos and fans and lights. It's doing circuitry. It's at the most basic level. We invented a game we call Go Nuts, and we've got these snap-on open and close wrenches, and the students or whoever's coming by tries to match them with the nuts, or fasteners, I guess is the proper term. And you wouldn't believe how some people will grab something small and a big wrench, and it's just they don't have that aptitude yet. There's slot cars that the science behind that is weight. They're different shapes and weights and stuff.
Aerodynamics.
Basically, a dozen different activities that we can deploy all of them. And what I just described, or we can just deploy one of them, indoors. We've got a light tree like from the drag strip that measures reflexes, but all these things are designed to spark the interest, get them to consider this. Then if they'll sign up to the network, then they can be exposed to all the cool, fun stuff that's going on in here, and hopefully continue that interest in that journey. Thanks for asking.
That's phenomenal. Now this truck will go anywhere. Nationwide.
Yeah, as long as we've got the underwriting for it. It's as I said, Penske generously donates the truck, and it's care and feeding, but we still need help getting it from point A to point B, and we don't have a budget to dole out thousands of dollars to exhibit at these different places. But if they'll comp the exhibit, or if a partner will fund it, that's where we'll get more. We'll be probably at Apex and SEMA with it. We were at a gathering of a metro area with, like, I think 16 different tech schools a little while back. We were at Barrett Jackson and Scottsdale with it. So it does get around a bit, but if we had the resources to do more, we could.
That's where you can get involved. If you're out there, you own a store, you own a company, you can help others on a mass scale and make our business better. Wow, Mike,
Yeah, what I've got on the screen right here, these are young. This is a local instructor at our booth interacting with young people and showing them how the circuitry works and such. And here's some imagery from having the students. This is Jimmy Johnson's crew chief, and these are all our students who came in from. They were largely California students, but there was a high school kid who flew in from New Jersey just to be here for it with his dad.
Wow, and look at those kids. They're young kids.
Yeah,
this is when you want to start.
We got to get them young. They're not just going to be, wake up their last month of high school and decide they're going to be a tech. We got to start them. We got to get them early and spark that interest and keep it going.
Wow.
Well, this is that veteran I was telling you about who ended up working for the Sun State Equipment on one of their scholarships and then got a job there.
Steve DiMarzio says I'm potentially interested in hiring the STEM truck next March for a school district in March.
Great. We can talk offline. We just need to know what it'll cost. And we don't use it as a profit center, but we need to cover our time and expenses to do it. We're actually, Steve, we're in conversation with a municipality who's asked us to conceivably, they've asked for a proposal and they're looking at a grant to be able to deploy it at all their schools in their city. And so that's a possibility. We have another alliance that's in the works right now that we'll be deploying in several cities on the Gulf Coast. So there's a number of things percolating. But yeah, we can talk offline, Steve, about when and where and what the expenses might be, and we'll see what we can do.
Mike, this is a great way to start off and kick off our alliance, man. Thank you so much for sharing this. This is valuable.
Thank you.
Wow. And Steve says, absolutely. Well, that brings us to an end of yet another show. So I want to thank you guys and gals for watching that are watching live. Thank you again, Ed Chipolowski, for helping me to make this possible. And to those watching it on the replay, I hope you enjoy and get value out of it. And like I said, share it with your network. Anybody that can benefit from a better way to find, recruit, train, retain quality technicians for your shops, this is the place. So check out their website, techforce.org. Mike, thanks again. And so why don't you stay on for a couple minutes after I log off the show here.
Thanks for having me. And thanks for the introduction, Ed.
Have a great week next week, a safe and productive one, and we'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live.